The story of India's freedom struggle is a story of bravery, courage, resilience, and sacrifices. In this long story, there are communities who fought for the Jal, Jungle, and Jameen. Yes, I am talking about the tribal communities of this country who fought on their ground level for their traditional rights, for their lands, for their water, for their rituals. Hello and welcome to the In Focus series of Drishti IAS. I am Ritu and today's session is about role of tribal communities in India's freedom struggle. And this session is important for your GS2 perspective. As you already know that today is the Independence Day and it's very important to have a discussion on the contribution of tribal communities in India's freedom struggle because their contribution is often neglected and they are not part of our textbook. So it's very important to recognize their contribution and how they had fought valiantly for this nation. So moving towards the points of discussion part. So first of all, we are going to discuss the phases of tribal movements. Then we are going to discuss different tribal movements. Simultaneously, we are also going to discuss about different tribal leaders. After that, we are going to discuss practice question for prelims. Before that, you have to like, share and subscribe to the Drishti IAS channel. Before moving to the any discussion part, I want to tell you the phases of this India's freedom struggle. So, there are the three phases of India's freedom struggle and here we have for conveniently, we have this particular graph for you. There can be different classification of tribal movement, but for the convenient thing and it is broadly categorized that we have one tribal movements which is before 1857, then there was after 1860 to early 1920s and then we have this after 1920s to till the independence of time. And you should not confuse with that after independence tribal movements had stopped. After independence also there are several tribal movements. But it was not against the British because India got free. So it was against the government, it was against the authority. So we have the first phase which is 1795 to 1860 and then we have the second phase 1860 to 1920 and then 1920 to 1947. So in this session we are broadly classify these tribal movements. And there can be differences between these tribal movements, but the basic nature of these tribal movements are same because they had fought for the land, water and what you can say their traditional culture, their traditional right. So forest also. So here we can see that in first phase coincided with the rise of British power and tribal uprising mainly due to the undermining traditional privileges because they often prevent their traditional rituals. So because of that, and the second phase is by the intensive colonialism because second phase is about the intensive colonialism because this is the after 1857 when the masses awakened towards their rights and impacted the tribal economy, land and forest and water bodies also. And after that tribals in 1920s to 1947 somewhat of the tribals are educated, so they had agitated in that way. So the nature of their movement changed, but the basic theme of the tribal movements are same, which is for the land and the forest and the water. So now we'll discuss the 40% discount. As you already know that on the occasion of Independence Day, Drishti IAS has come up with the 40% discount on all the online courses and pen drive courses. If you want to know more information about this thing, you can call on to this number and this is the link given to you and link is also in the description. So kindly avail that. Now we'll come to the first tribal movement which is the Pahadia Rebellion. And who was the leader of the Pahadia Rebellion? So we have Raja Jagannath in 1778. And what is the reason behind this tribal movement against the British extension of the settled agriculture into Pahadia territories? And what is the response? In 1770s, the British brutally hunted and killed Pahadias. And by the 1780s, the British had adopted the pacification policies. Chief receives the allowance. But they had rejected the allowance because they said that in the terms of allowance, they will undermine our authority. So this is about the Pahadia Rebellion. Now we'll come to the another one which is about the Chuar uprising. Before moving to the different kind of rebellions, uprising, revolts and movement, I want to tell you that what was the nature of all these revolts. It's very important to know about the nature of these revolts. So as I have already mentioned that this is a fight for Jal, Jangal and Jameen, but I want to tell you that yes, this is the fight of the Jal, Jangal and Jameen, because they were fighting against the British forces, money lenders, regarding the various local chiefs, and their fight is mainly towards their forest and land rights, because this was the era when the British had also introduced the Forest Right Act, and they were so much angry against the Forest Right Acts because so many tribals became so much anxious and furious because their forest belongs to them and there was no interference into their forest. And whenever this British came, they started interfering their daily lives, interfering their forest lives, and also about their daily rituals. So that has infuriated tribals of this country, and the basic nature of all those revolts are for their forest rights, for their self-sustenance, because tribals had lived their life of self-sustenance, self-reliant, and if anybody will interfere into these kind of things, they had started revolting. And it is not just against the British, it is also against the Jamindars, landlords, money lenders and various other dicus. It means the outsiders. So we'll come to the next one, which is about the Chuar uprising. So what is the location of Chuar uprising? So location is the Chota Nagpur and the plains of Bengal, and it has happened into the late 18th century to the early 19th century. And who was the leader? Leader was the Durjan Singh. And what was the feature of this particular uprising? By 1798, the tribals rebelled, took the arms and adopted the guerrilla tactics of the war. So this is very much important, because whenever in examination, if people will ask question that who was the leader of this particular uprising, so Durjan Singh is the leader, and they had adopted the guerrilla tactics of the war to this kind of the uprising. Now we'll have another one, which is about the Tamar revolts. And what is the location of Tamar revolts? So in this particular thing, Chota Nagpur region is there, and the time period is 1789 to 1832. So this is also the late 18th century to early 19th century, and Oraon tribes of Tamar region are involved into it. And who was the leader of this thing? Bholanath Sahai is the leader of this thing. And what is the region of this thing? So the region of the revolt is that faulty alignment system by the British government. And what is this faulty alignment system? Because they had snatched the basic tenants' lands rights. And what was the development of this thing? So this particular tribe has been joined by various other tribes and various other communities, and it is not just limited to the Chota Nagpur region. The people from the Midnapur, Koilpur, Dhadha and Chatsila, Jalda and Silli had also joined this movement, and the government suppressed the movement in 1832 to 1833. So this is about the Tamar revolt. Now we'll have discussion on Bhil uprising. Whenever we'll discuss about any kind of tribal movements, the Bhil, Santhal, Munda movements are prominent one. And here we'll discuss about the location of the Bhil uprising. So the location of Bhil uprising in the Maharashtra and Gujarat, and it is into between the early 19th century, which is the 1817 to 1819. And what is the region of this Bhil uprising? The region of this Bhil uprising is that their land was occupied by the British in 1818, and this is also against the forest and land rights, and the Bhil revolted in 1825, 1836 and 1846. So this is not just that they had revolted around 1818, they had revolted over the period of time 1825, 1836 and 1846. So this is about the Bhil uprising. And after independence also Bhil had revolted for various other regions, but they had also revolted in the British time. Now we are talking about the Ramosi uprising. And who are the Ramosis? So Ramosis are the aboriginal community in the Western Ghats, and mainly Karnataka, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and they had also served in the ranks of the Maratha army. And who is the leader of the Ramosi uprising? So Chittur Singh of Satara was the leader of the Ramosi uprising, and this movement had happened in around 1822. And in 1826, Ramosis around Pune revolted, and Umaji Nayak and Bapu Trimbakji Sawant are also leaders of this thing. So in 1822, we have Chittur Singh of Satara, and later we have also Umaji Nayak and Bapu Trimbakji Sawant is also the leader. And what are the causes? So the causes is that after the defeat of the Peshwas, the British had started exploiting the Ramosis, and because of that they had lost their lands, they had lost their forests, and they had started revolting. And what was the response of the British towards this? So the British condones Ramosi crimes, granting them land and recruiting them as a hill police. So this is the response of the British, that they had tried to persuade, and they had not persuade, but they had tried to tell British that we are united and we are fighting against it, and you have to do something in response to that. Now we'll come to the next one, which is about the Ahom revolt and coal uprising. So first of all, we are going to look for the Ahom revolt. So what is the location of the Ahom revolt? So location is Assam, and the time period is between 1828 to 1833. Who are the leaders? So Gormadhar Kanwar, who was an Ahom prince, was the leader of this thing, and later he was joined by Dhananjay Borgohain and Jairam Khargaria of Fukan. So they had joined this prince towards this Ahom revolt. And what was this the reason of this revolt? So after the Treaty of Yandbo, the British were not letting these people to live their life of their own, and because of that also this particular revolt began. Now we'll come to the coal uprising. So the reason of the coal uprising is Chota Nagpur region, 1831 to 32, and it spreads to Ranchi, Hazaribagh, Palamu and Manbhu. And what was the reason of this coal uprising? British penetration and law over the coal chiefs caused tribal tension, because they had tried to exploit the chiefs, they had tried to exploit their lands and various other things. So that has created a tense situation, and because of that coals revolted, and occupation brought settlers, transferred of the tribal lands, merchant, moneylenders, and British law threatened chiefs' power. So this is not just against the British authorities, also against the moneylenders and other local chiefs who had tried to undermine the tribal's authority. So this is about the coal uprising. Now we'll have a discussion on Khasi uprising and Khond uprising. So first of all, we'll discuss the Khasi uprising. So what is the location of the Khasi uprising? So in Meghalaya, we have this tribe Khasi, Jaintia and Garo. So this is between the Khasi and Jaintia hills, and the time period is 1829 to 33. And who was the leader? So leader was the U. Tirath Singh. And what is the reason? So British annexed the independent tribal states of Khasi Hills in 1826, and I have already told you that their basic nature, that their land was captured, their forest thing, their resources are exploited by the British. They had tried to commercialize this thing, and because of that the tribals revolted against the British and moneylenders, because so many people from outside infiltrated to these areas. And British administration wanted to build a road linking the Brahmaputra valley with Sylhet, and by constructing this road they had acquired various laborers from these community, and they were not paying them even, and because of that the tribals revolted. Now we'll come to the Khond uprising. So the location of the Khond uprising is the Odisha, and the time period is 1837 to 1856. And who is the leader? So Chakra Bisoi is the leader. And what is the reason? So the Khonds faced issues with the colonial administration stopping Maria sacrifice. So they had also the reason because their forest resources are underutilized, and they are over exploited by the British, and they were not able to utilize their own resources, and also they had started interfering their personal lives, their community life. And there is a tradition of Maria sacrifice. Maria sacrifice is a kind of human sacrifice. The Khond community used to practice this, and British tried to abrogate this, and after that they had to face the revolt. So this is about the Khond uprising. And what was the development? The uprising was later joined by the Savaras and few other militias clans led by the Radha Kishan Dandasena. So in the question, if there will be the question that Dandasena Radha Kishan is a part and a leader of this movement or not, then you should not confuse. And after Bisoi disappeared, Dandasena hanging in 1857 was a huge headline, and after that this particular movement was suppressed by the British authority. Now we'll come to the Santhal rebellion. Whenever you discuss about any tribal revolt, what comes to your mind? It is always the Santhal and Munda. So this is very much important for your examination point of view, because so many questions have been asked from this Santhal rebellion. So it's very important to have a discussion on Santhal rebellion. So what is the location of the Santhal rebellion? Birbhum, Bankura, Singhbhum, Hazaribagh, Bhagalpur and Munger. And who was the leader? I think everybody knows, Sidhu and Kanhu. And they had gathered around 10,000 Santhals in 1855, and they had started marching towards the authority because their everything was suppressed by the British. And first they were called by the British to clear the forest, and whenever they cleared the forest to settle there, the British started abandoning them, and they had started forcing them to leave this place, and that has created a sense of feeling of a cheating, because they had contested with the Paharias, and because of that they felt like that this is their own land, because they had done huge labor to get this land, and where this is the region where they are living, and this has been taken by the British authority, and that has created so much anger amongst the Santhal community, and even women of the Santhal community participated to this particular protest and particular movement. And Santhal rebelling against the colonial exploitation, money lenders due to the permanent settlement. So there was also the reason of the permanent settlement, because there was the issue of their lands, their forest rights because of this permanent settlements, and there was also imposition of the heavy taxes, high interest rates, and Santhal has revolted for their self-rule. And what is the consequences of this particular revolt? They had allotted their Santhal Paragana. So this is about the Santhal. Now we'll come to the next one. Next one is about the Birsa Munda revolt. So Birsa Munda revolt. So this is also happened in the Chota Nagpur region in 1890s. And who was the leader? Leader was the Birsa Munda, and he has given a slogan Uluglan, which means the revolt. And what is this movement about? So this movement is about the against the British exploitation, also the self-reform movement, because so many there were so many social evils within the communities. So they had tried to remove all those social evils within the communities. They had tried to ban this liquor, clean their village, stop believing in witchcraft and sorcery. And Birsa Munda is also known as Dharti Aba, father of this particular land. And what is the reason? So there was the abrogation of Khunkari system by the British, and that has created anger amongst the Munda community, and the reason this revolt happened. And later this revolt was suppressed by the British because Munda died. So this is about the Birsa Munda revolt, and this is the significance that Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act happened, and this movement has given a confidence among the tribal communities of this country that they can fight for their self-rule, and it has also created a community consciousness among the Munda. So this is about the significance of this community. And on the occasion of the birthday and birth anniversary of Birsa Munda, 15 November, Janjatiya Gaurav Divas has been observed by the government of this country, and we still celebrate 15 November as a Janjatiya Gaurav Divas, which is the Indian Tribal Day. Now we'll come to the next one, which is about the Koya Rebellion. So Koya Rebellion, what is the location of this thing? So Eastern Godavari tract of Andhra Pradesh, some regions of Malkangiri region of Odisha. And who was the leader? The leader was Tomma Dora of Koya tribe, and in 1880 the Tomma Dora captured a police station, defeating Colonial and his contingent. Koyas held him as a king of Malkangiri. And what is the reason? So these are the three reasons by which this Koya people had revolted: erosion of customary rights over forest, Mansabdar's effort to enhance taxes on timber and grazing, police exaction and exploitation by the money lenders, new exercise regulation restricting domestic production of toddy, because they had tried to capture their forest produce and capture their crops, and they had tried to capture it and commercialize in their own way, and because of that the Koya people had revolted. Now we'll come to the Tana Bhagat movement. So what is the location of Tana Bhagat movement? So it happened in the Chota Nagpur, and Oraon tribes are involved into it. And who was the leader? So Jatra Bhagat is the leader. What is the reasons of the Tana Bhagat movement? Economic and cultural exploitation of the Oraon tribes, and they had also fought for the Swaraj. It means the self-rules, freedom from the British, and also freedom from the money lenders, also from the landlords and Dikus, who are the outsiders. And they had also done the self-reform movement to stop the practice of different kind of evil practice of exorcism and different kind of the witchcraft and so many things. So this is about the Tana Bhagat movement. What is the nature of this movement? So it is against the unfair landlords, and also some of the members deny to pay rent and heavy taxes, and Mahatma Gandhi had also given support to this Tana Bhagat movement. So that's why this movement got this famous, and this movement happened in the 20th century, early 20th century. Now we'll come to the Rampa Rebellion, and who was the leader of this Rampa Rebellion? Alluri Sitaram Raju. Alluri Sitaram Raju was not a tribe, not from a tribal community, but he supported a lot to this Rampa Rebellion, and he grasped the what you can say essence of this particular movement. So that's why he supported a lot, and because of his support the tribals were able to assert their demands and assert their protest. And he organized Adivasis against police, forest and revenue officials touring the forest area, and prepare them to fight against the Madras Forest Act of 1882 and asserting their ownership on the forest produce, and won grudging admiration from the British for guerrilla tactics. What was the reason? Forced labor, embargoes on collecting minor forest produce, and bans on tribal agricultural practices led to the severe distress. So the forced labor, tribal produce, forest produce, so these are the reasons. Because of that the community revolted. And what was the development? In August 1922, Godavari Agency Forest saw 3-day attacks on police stations. Alluri Sitaram Raju and 500 tribals attacked the Chintapalli, Krishna Devi Petta and Rajavo Mangi stations, stole 26 cabin rifles, and trademark letter signed by the Raju provided the details of the booty in the station diary. So they had also adopted various means to assert their protest and their demand. British responses: unable to contain Manyam uprising, and British government deputed T.G. Rutherford in April 1924 to suppress this movement. And Rutherford restored the violence and torture to get to know about the whereabouts of the Raju. And in 1924, on May 7, 1924, Rama Raju was court-martialed, and after that this movement failed. So this is about the Rampa Rebellion, that they had started very violent means and they had opted for different kind of means to assert their demand, to tell the British that they are not happy with their policies. Now we'll come to the Chenchu tribal movement. And what is the location of the Chenchu tribal movement? Nallamalai forest of Andhra Pradesh. And who was the leader? Leader was the Venkatapaya, and even Gandhiji provided links to this movement. What was the development? They had launched the forest satyagraha, and this was the time period when there was a non-cooperation movement was happening around the country. So this is very much important because so many people and so many communities had revolted in their own way for their own reasons, and Congress wanted that limited social boycott on forest officials, but the people from the Chenchu tribal community had not listened this thing, and they had revolted in their own way. And in Palnad, people proclaimed Swaraj and attacked the police. So they had also fought for the self-rule. So this is about the Chenchu tribal movement. Now we'll come to the Rani Gandiliu Naga movement. I think we already know about the Rani Gandiliu. So her movement was very much famous and special because she started this movement at the age of 13. That was very young and premature age, but still she has this idea that she has to fight for the nation, and she got also arrested and she got freedom after the 1947. So she was not released before 1947. So what was the reason of this particular movement? So the reason is Zeliangrong territory of Manipur, and time period is 1930s. Leadership was, earlier the leadership was given to the Gandinliu cousin, who is Haipu Zedong, and this movement is also known as the Heraka movement. And this movement is also spiritual in nature, political in nature, and social in nature. So earlier the movement was with the Haipu Zedong, who was the cousin of the Rani Gandinliu, and after Zedong was hanged, Gandinliu emerged as a political and spiritual leader for the Naga community. And Rani Gandinliu was born on 26 January 1915 in the Tamglong district of Manipur and belonged to the Rongmei tribe. So this is very much special, and as I have already told you that at the age of 13 she joined this movement and she got arrested at very early age, and because of her bravery Jawaharlal Nehru had called her Rani. So that's why her name is Rani Gandinliu. So this is about the Nehru. So who has given the title Rani to Gandinliu? So it is Jawaharlal Nehru. And what was the reason? So the reason is the self-rule, Naga self-rule, and they had also tried to interfere the religious life of the people, and they had forcefully tried to convert Naga people into the Christianity. So this can be also one of the reasons. What is the development of this particular thing? So development is that they had opened rebellion against the British rule. They refused to pay taxes, and they had also refused to pay various police orders, and they had not allowed and they had not obeyed the police orders. And what was the British response to this thing? So it is a reformist religious thing, but it has also a political tone, and that has this capacity that they had attacked the British authority, they had attacked the British power, and in that way they had undermined the British authority. So after this, the repercussion is that Zedong was hanged and Gandinliu was captured to the jail. So she was in jail till the 1947. After 1947 she was released. So this is about the Rani Gandinliu Naga movement. Now we'll come to the question part. Before coming to the question part, what you have gained from this particular whole tribal movement? So what we have realized that these tribals have fought for their self-rule, and it is not just the British who had exploited them. The upper strata of the society also exploited them. Landlords, money lenders had also exploited them, and they had tried to interfere their religious life. They had tried to make forcefully convert them into Christianity. They had tried to stop various practices practiced by one particular community, and also they had tried to capture their lands, their forest resources, and many of time what we have seen that they have been killed by the British officers, they have been captured by the British officers, and their movement was suppressed. But it is just the story of suppression. This is not just the story of suppression. This shows the self-assertiveness by the tribal community of this country, and they had said that they had this capacity to show their assertiveness, they had this capacity to show that they can fight for their self-rule, and they had also this consciousness that we are treated like insects under this British government, and it's right time to revolt against this British government, their unfair policies towards everything. So this movement has not just impacted tribal community, it has also extended support to the mainstream revolts which are happening, and they had tried to create pressure on the British authority, and sometimes it had become impossible, and British had to also surrender, and they had to also follow that what these community wants. So this was the conclusion and consequences of all these tribal community. And what we have seen that in our history books, their names are not registered, they are not even remembered, like unlike the various freedom fighters. So it's very important to remember the unsung heroes and heroines of the freedom fighters of the tribal movements, and it's very important that to register their name, to remember their contribution in the freedom struggle movement, because in freedom struggle not only one section has contributed, and being in a democratic country, it's very important to recognize everybody's contribution. So that's why it's very important to remember the contribution and role played by the brave tribal communities of this country. And you have this question that after 1947 the tribals had become satisfied, the nature of the revolt has changed. This was not the mass revolt kind of the thing that simultaneously every region has this kind of the tribal revolts that they had revolted. We had seen various revolts in 1947, after 1947 also, but the nature has changed. They had not this various violent means to attack on the government. So this is the thing, but we cannot deny this fact that still tribals are what you can say, sacrificing so many forest produce, sacrificing their resources, and also this has been exploited by the people who does not belong to those forests and these kind of the things. So now we'll come to the question part. With reference to the history of India, Ulugh or the Great Tumult is led by Bakshi Jagat Bandhu, Alluri Sitaram Raju, Sidhu and Kanhu Murmu, Birsa Munda. So kindly answer this into the comment section. I hope you like this session. If you have any queries related to the session, kindly ask in the comment section. And happy Independence Day to all of you. Thank you. Have a nice day.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.